In this fifth module, we will discuss the Buddha's teachings on good friendship. We now move from personal qualities, right understanding, personal training, dealing with anger, and proper speech, to two-way relationships. Harmony in two-way relationships is the foundation for harmony in society. I have divided this talk into three sections: Kalyana Mita, noble friend, the Sigalovada Sutta, and husband and wife. The expression Kalyana Mita is one of my favorite terms in Pali. It can be translated as noble friend or spiritual companion. The Sigalovada Sutta covers the topic of good friendship and many other topics that are important for lay people. Finally, the good friendship between husband and wife is at the core of the most important social unit, the family. We will start with the topic of Kalyana Mita or noble friend. In this sutta, the Buddha instructs rich lay people how to preserve and increase their prosperity and how to avoid loss of wealth. The Buddha said there are four things that lead to the welfare and happiness of a layperson in the present life. First, accomplishment in initiative. The sutta explains that this means being skillful, not lazy, and doing things in the proper way, not cutting corners. Second, accomplishment in protection. The sutta explains that this means considering how to stop kings and thieves from taking his wealth, how to stop fires and floods from destroying his wealth. In today's context, this might include having proper insurance. The third, Kalyana Mita or noble friendship, we'll discuss that on the next slide. And the fourth is balanced living. The sutta explains that this means making sure that income matches his expenditures, neither being too extravagant nor too frugal. Here is how this sutta explains Kalyana Mita, noble friendship. And what is Kalyana Mita, noble friendship? A layperson associates with those who are accomplished in faith, in virtuous behavior, in generosity, and in wisdom. He emulates them with respect to their accomplishment in faith, in virtuous behavior, in generosity, in wisdom. In other words, a Kalyana Mita is a person who, through their own example, inspires you to have more faith, more virtue, more generosity, and more wisdom. I consider myself to be extremely fortunate that in my life I have a number of Kalyana Mita, including my wife. The Buddha talked about the importance of having a Kalyana Mita when he said, "I do not see a single thing that causes new, wholesome qualities to arise and existing unwholesome qualities to decline as having a Kalyana Mita, a noble friend. For one with a Kalyana Mita, noble friends, new wholesome qualities arise and existing unwholesome qualities decline." Now this is a powerful statement by the Buddha on the importance of having a Kalyana Mita. Ananda once approached the Buddha and said, "A Kalyana Mita is half of the holy life." The Buddha replied, "Don't say that. A Kalyana Mita is actually the whole of the holy life. When a monk has admirable people as friends, companions, and comrades, he can be expected to develop and pursue the Noble Eightfold Path. It is in dependence upon me as a Kalyana Mita that beings have become enlightened." So a Kalyana Mita is exceptionally important both to lay people and to monks. I will now take you through the main points of the Sigalovada Sutta. In the Vinaya, the Buddha laid out rules for monastics leading to harmony in the Sangha. In the commentaries, the Sigalovada Sutta is called the layperson's Vinaya because it explains in detail ethics and social responsibilities for lay people leading to harmony in society. In my opinion, almost all of the content of this sutta is as relevant today as it was more than 2,500 years ago. Here is the background story to the sutta. Sigala's parents were devout followers of the Buddha, but they could not convince their teenage son to pay respect to monks or listen to the Dhamma. 2,500 years ago, as today, children go through three stages. Dependent, when they need their parents' care. Second, independent, when they mainly think about themselves. And third, interdependent, when they realize that there are reciprocal responsibilities between themselves and others. This sutta is about moving a teenager from the independent stage to the interdependent stage. On his deathbed, Sigala's father came up with a strategy to guide his son towards maturity. He told Sigala that each morning he should take a ritual bath and then pay respect to each of the 6 directions, the 4 cardinal points downwards and upwards, by facing that direction and clasping his hands together. This was a common ritual among the Brahmins of the time. Sigala agreed to this as it did not take much time or money, and it was his father's dying wish. Sigala's father hoped that while performing this ritual, Sigala would meet the Buddha or a monk and receive instruction. So the sutta starts, "Young Sigala, a layperson's son, rising early in the morning with wet clothes and wet hair, worshipped with joined hands the 6 directions: east, south, west, north, below, and above. Now, in ancient India, before the invention of the compass, the listing of the 4 cardinal points always started with the east, as this is the direction in which the sun rises. So Sigala was performing this ritual when he meets the Buddha. The Buddha asks, "Why are you doing this?" And Sigala explains that it was his father's dying wish. The Buddha says this is not how the noble layperson worships the 6 directions, and Sigala asks the Buddha for instructions. In the Vedic tradition, a ritual was only effective if done correctly, so the Buddha's statement, "You are not doing it the right way," had a big impact on Sigala. The Buddha starts by explaining what makes a layperson noble. A noble layperson avoids the 14 evil things, eradicates the 4 defilements of kama, commits no evil actions in 4 ways, does not pursue the 6 channels for dissipating wealth. The noble layperson eradicates the 4 defilements of kama: destruction of life, stealing, sexual misconduct, and lying. This is very basic ethics, covering the first 4 precepts. The 5th precept, abstaining from intoxicants, is covered later in the sutta. The noble layperson commits no evil action motivated by desire, anger, ignorance, or fear. These are the 4 main motivations for doing unwholesome things. The noble layperson does not pursue the 6 channels for dissipating wealth: indulgence in intoxicants, which cause infatuation and heedlessness. Here the Buddha introduces the 5th precept. In the sutta, the Buddha explains how each of these 6 things can lead to a loss of wealth: sauntering in the streets at unseemly hours, frequenting theatrical shows, indulgence in gambling which causes heedlessness, association with evil companions, and the habit of idleness. All 6 of these can be attractive to a teenager such as Sigala, but the Buddha is pointing out that they are all actually wasting money. The Buddha continues, "Be aware of these 4 enemies disguised as friends: a taker, a talker, a flatterer, and a reckless companion." Since teenagers such as Sigala are easily influenced by their friends, the Buddha gives this warning and then explains how to identify each type of false friend. A taker can be identified by 4 things: only taking, asking for a lot while giving little, performing duty out of fear, and offering service in order to get something. A talker can be identified by 4 things: reminding of past generosity, promising future generosity, mouthing empty words of kindness, and protesting personal misfortune when called on to help. A flatterer can be identified by 4 things: supporting bad behavior, not supporting good behavior, praising you to your face, and putting you down behind your back. A reckless companion can be identified by 4 things: accompanying you in drinking, accompanying you in roaming around at night, accompanying you partying, and accompanying you gambling. Basically, being a bad influence on you. Then the Buddha said, "Young man, be aware of these 4 good friends: a helper, a friend who endures in good times and bad, a mentor, and a compassionate friend." Having warned Sigala about 4 types of bad friends and advised how to identify them, the Buddha lists the 4 types of good friends and advises how to identify them. In this sutta, a good friend is literally a friend with a true heart, or a social friend. This type of friend is a forerunner of the Kalyanamitta, a noble friend, because Sigala is still not on the spiritual path. A helper can be identified by 4 things: protecting you when you are vulnerable, protecting your wealth when you are vulnerable, being a refuge when you are afraid, and providing double what is requested. An enduring friend can be identified by 4 things: telling you secrets, guarding your own secrets closely, not abandoning you in misfortune, and even dying for you. A mentor can be identified by 4 things: restraining you from wrongdoing, guiding you towards good actions, telling you what you ought to know, and showing you the path to heaven. A compassionate friend can be identified by 4 things: not rejoicing in your misfortune, delighting in your good fortune, preventing others from speaking ill of you, and encouraging others who praise your good qualities. Now the Buddha stresses the importance of financial management, another topic that is important for a teenager to learn, but useful for us as well. A layperson should divide his wealth into 4 portions, 1/4 to be used for his daily necessities. In another sutta, the Buddha breaks down the daily necessities into 5 categories. There are 5 benefits that can be obtained from wealth: supporting self, wife, and family, supporting friends and associates, providing security and insurance, paying taxes and social obligations, and supporting one's spiritual development. Supporting one's spiritual development includes offering dana to monks or donating to build a monastery. Returning to the Sigalovada Sutta, the Buddha recommends that half of your wealth should be invested in your business and 1/4 of your wealth should be saved for times of need. Obviously, these percentages will vary based on your financial situation and stage of life. We will now proceed to the main part of the sutta. The following should be looked upon as the 6 quarters. Parents should be looked upon as the east. Teachers should be looked upon as the south. Wife should be looked upon as the west. Friends should be looked upon as the north. Employees should be looked upon as below. And monastics should be looked upon as above. The Buddha often provided a new interpretation of traditional religious practices. The religious practice which was being undertaken by Sigala was to pay respect to the various gods in the 6 directions. The Buddha redefined the 6 directions to represent the 6 relationships that a layperson has with others in society. East symbolizes parents because just as the day begins in the east, life begins with the parents. The Pali word for south is the same word as is used for the tuition fee paid to a teacher. West is where the sun sets, and at the end of one's life, one is surrounded by wife and family. The Pali word for north also means beyond, and friends help one move beyond troubles. Below symbolizes employees because they are lower in status and provide support. Above symbolizes monastics because they are closer to heaven than lay people. The Buddha is pointing out that we live in an interdependent society. We need harmony in each of these relationships. None of these relationships is one way. They are all bidirectional. The responsibilities of the child to a parent are support them as they have supported me, do their duties, keep the family tradition, make myself worthy of my inheritance, and offer alms in honor of my departed relatives. In the Gratitude Sutta, the Buddha said there are 2 people who are not easy to repay, your mother and father. Even if you were to carry your mother on one shoulder and your father on the other shoulder for 100 years, this would still not repay them. Why is that? Mother and father do much for their children. They care for them, they nourish them, they introduce them to this world. But this is how one can repay one's mother and father. Encourage an unbelieving mother and father, establish them in faith. Encourage an unvirtuous mother and father, establish them in virtue. Encourage a stingy mother and father, establish them in generosity. Encourage a foolish mother and father, establish them in wisdom. Establishing a person in faith, virtue, generosity, and wisdom is the most valuable gift that one can give. The reciprocal responsibilities of the parent to the child are restrain them from evil, encourage them to do good, train them for a profession, arrange a suitable marriage, and hand over their inheritance at the proper time. Obviously, arrange a suitable marriage is no longer culturally appropriate. In today's context, I might rephrase it as give advice leading to a successful marriage. The responsibilities of the student to the teacher are rise from the seat in salutation, attend on him, eagerness to learn, personal service, and respectful attention while receiving instructions. The reciprocal responsibilities of the teacher to the student are train them in the best discipline, see that they grasp their lessons well, instruct them in the arts and sciences, introduce them to their friends and associates, and provide for their safety. The responsibilities of the husband to the wife are be courteous to her, not despise her, be faithful to her, hand over authority to her, and provide her with adornments. The reciprocal responsibilities of the wife to the husband are perform her duties well, be hospitable to relations and attendants, be faithful to him, protect what he brings, and be skilled and industrious in discharging her duties. The responsibilities of you to your friend are liberality, courteous speech, be helpful, be impartial, and sincerity. The reciprocal responsibilities of your friend to you are protect you when you are heedless, protect your property when you are heedless, become a refuge when you are in danger, do not forsake you in your troubles, and show consideration for your family. The responsibilities of a boss to an employee are assign them with work according to their ability, supply them with food and with wages, tend to them in sickness, share with them any delicacies, and grant them leave at times. Healthcare, bonus, annual leave, how little things have changed in 2,500 years. The reciprocal responsibilities of an employee to a boss are rise before him, go to sleep after him, take only what is given, perform their duties well, and uphold his good name and fame. The responsibilities of a layperson to a monastic are offer lovable deeds, offer lovable words, offer lovable thoughts, keep an open house to them, and supply their material needs. The reciprocal responsibilities of a monastic to a layperson are restrain him from evil, persuade him to do good, love him with a kind heart, make him hear what he has not heard, clarify what he has already heard, and point out the path to a heavenly state. Here is another sutta in which the Buddha laid out the reciprocal responsibilities of monks and lay people. Monks, lay people are very helpful to you as they provide you with the requisites of robes, alms food, lodgings, and medicine. These are the 4 allowable requisites that can be given to monks. And you, monks, are very helpful to lay people as you teach them the Dhamma that is beautiful in the beginning, beautiful in the middle, beautiful in the end. As you expound the holy life both in meaning and phrasing, entirely complete, surpassingly pure. You know, the expression beautiful in the beginning, beautiful in the middle, beautiful in the end appears many times in the suttas as a description of the Buddha's teachings. The Pali word for beautiful used in this expression is kalyana. So we can also translate kalyana mitra as a beautiful friend. After listing the reciprocal responsibilities symbolized by each direction, the Buddha said, in this way, the direction is covered, making it at peace and free from fear. In my opinion, at peace and free from fear is a good way to describe harmony. The first key takeaway from this quick review of the Sigalovada Sutta is that the Buddha gave a lot of good advice for lay people. I just read a bunch of lists without making a lot of comments. It's obvious that we could spend an entire day or even longer just discussing this one sutta. The second takeaway is that the Buddha started by stressing the importance of having good friends. Good friendship is a key to harmony because bad friends are a bad influence and good friends are a good influence. The third takeaway is that the Buddha identified the interdependent web of responsibilities that make up a harmonious society. Understanding interdependence and understanding responsibilities is key to social harmony. We now move on to the final section, the good friendship between husband and wife. You may recall that the relationship between husband and wife was included in the Sigalovada Sutta. I have copied the responsibilities of a husband to a wife here. A husband should be courteous to her, not despise her, be faithful to her, hand over authority to her, and provide her with adornments. A wife's responsibilities to her husband include performing her duties well, being hospitable to relations and attendants, being faithful to him, protecting what he brings, being skilled and industrious in discharging her duties. Here is the story of the old couple Nakulapita and Nakulamata. Nakulapita means father of Nakula, and Nakulamata means mother of Nakula. According to the commentaries, they had been the parents of the Bodhisattva in 500 previous lives. This remained as a faint memory in their minds, and the first time that Nakulapita saw the Buddha, he said, "My dear son, why have you never called on us? Now, please honor our home so that your aged mother may lay her eyes on you too." You know, when giving the background story to a sutta, the commentaries frequently indulge in this kind of embellishment. The Buddha referred to Nakulapita and Nakulamata as foremost among lay disciples in faithfulness to each other. When the Buddha went to their house, Nakulapita said, "Since I was young, when the young girl Nakulamata was given to me in marriage, I do not recall ever transgressing against her, even in thought, much less by deed. We wish to see one another not only in the present life, but also in future lives." Nakulamata spoke of her faithfulness to Nakulapita in the same way. The Buddha replied, "If both husband and wife wish to see one another not only in the present life, but also in future lives, they should have the same faith, the same virtuous behavior, the same generosity, and the same wisdom." In another sutta, the Buddha talked to Nakulamata about the 8 qualities of a good wife. First, she serves, respects, and loves her husband well. She respects her husband's relatives. She is capable and industrious in her work, especially assisting her husband. She manages her household duties well. She takes good care of the goods and wealth that her husband brings home. She is a lay disciple who has taken refuge in the Triple Gem, the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. She keeps the 5 precepts well, and she is a charitable person. The first 5 are ways in which a good wife is good in a worldly way, and the last 3 are ways in which a wife is good in a spiritual way. Here is a sutta about Nakulapita. When Nakulapita was very sick, his wife, Nakulamata, said to him, "Don't be concerned. To die full of concern has been criticized by the Buddha. Don't be concerned that I will not be able to support our children and maintain our household. Don't worry that I would take another husband. Don't worry that I will not want to see the Buddha. Don't worry that I won't be virtuous. Don't worry that I have not obtained internal serenity of mind. And don't be concerned that I am not a saint, a Sotapanna. On hearing this, his ailment immediately subsided. Now, Kulamata's comments cover both the worldly and spiritual aspects. She is both a good friend in a worldly sense and also a Kalyana-mitta, a noble friend. Nakulapita reported this to the Buddha, and the Buddha commented, Nakulapita, it is your gain, your great gain, that you have Nakulamata, sympathetic and wishing for your welfare, as your counselor and instructor. A spouse who is a counselor and instructor, especially in spiritual areas, is extremely precious. As mentioned at the beginning of this module, harmony in two-way relationships is the foundation for harmony in society. We have looked at the special spiritual relationship of a Kalyana-mitta, a noble friend. We've looked at friendship and reciprocal responsibilities in the Sigalabhata Sutta and the special relationship between husband and wife. Now it is time for questions and answers.